Maya, oh Maya. Boy, captains, we have a special treat today. We are looking at the Tier 6 Premium Japanese Cruiser, the Maya. If you haven't already figured it out by now, we are going to look at everything around this ship specifically. It models very similar to the Atago, which is at Tier 7, just above it. And we're going to go over the commander, what I chose for this game. We'll showcase some gameplay and give you my thoughts on this very fun cruiser at Tier 6. And it is available in the store for 12,500 doubloons. And if you have any coupons, it may reduce that price. So is it worth buying? Well, only you can be the judge of that, but I'm going to give you my best thoughts on it. So let's take a look at the commander first of all. Hi all, Hipper here. No, this isn't Hipper, but it's going to be very similar because he loves playing these types of builds. It is Mikawa, which is fully maxed at 16.4 with AL Baltimore and AL Rune as inspirations, which really help with the rudder. And we have all of the normal perks that you would normally have for a Hipper build, which is basically a full agility build. Not saying that this is the way you play it. Hipper would disagree. He would say this is the only way to play it. But this is the way I did it for this game. In the first mod slot, I did the turret traverse. Second, I chose propulsion over steering gears. I know, not Hipper. But in the third, I'm taking steering gears to help reduce it just a little bit more, making it as shifty as I like to play it. You can get it further reduced a little bit more, but I don't really care. Because of fully packed, we've got 3 sonars, which detect ships up to 4.7 kilometers. And here is the main battery reload booster, which helps reduce your main battery reload speed by 50% for 15 seconds, which is going to help. And you got 3 of them. Along with those, you also have 3 repair parties at Tier 6, which really makes the health pool a little bit better than 39,200. And I did the math for you. Your effective health, if you used every bit of the healing potential, can get you all the way up to 55,580, which is a little bit better than advertised. But that would also mean that you're not taking Citadel damage, which you cannot fully repair back. So if you're just taking fire damage, you can heal most, if not all, that back, up to 55,580 total. Your artillery, which is the 203s in a 4x2 configuration. You got 4 in the front and 4 in the back. You do lose out on 2 compared to the Miyoko, which is also at this tier, and similar to the Atago, which also has 10 guns. So you do have 2 less guns, and they reload in an abysmally slow 16.5 seconds with this build. Your HE shell damage is very good at 3,000 per shell at a 17% chance to set fires. Your AP shell damage is also very respectable as well, but that slow reload you can definitely feel. The torpedoes, however, are just like the Atago, and if you have played that ship, you know that you have 2 sets of torpedoes that can fire in the front, and then you have 2 sets that can fire rearward. Now, most of the Japanese cruisers, all the tech trees, you can only shoot them off of the back section of your ship. So you almost have to be in a full kiting position in order to really utilize those torpedoes. Not with the Maya. The Maya, you can throw some as you're going forward, and you can also do them behind you. And 16 torpedoes is nothing to scoff at over 20,000 damage per torpedo. So these things hit like trucks. The AA defense is it's there. It's not absent, but it's not the greatest. It's not the mainstay of this ship. It might help knock down a couple of planes, but don't put a lot of stock into your AA defense. Your maneuverability, especially with the agility build, makes this a pretty respectably fast ship. Over 40 knots base without any type of engine boost is pretty fast, but that's also the same with the Atago. You get very similar speed as well. Your turning circle radius is 780 meters, which seems big, but with the rudder shift time of only 3.5 seconds with this build, it doesn't feel as big as advertised. Your concealment is also very respectable as well. It's actually sub 11 kilometers. We didn't even spec into it, so you could really get this thing down to be pretty stealthy if you wanted to, helping you get into positions, especially with kiting positions or on flanks rather quickly. Makes this a ship that you can kind of go either way. Onto the armor. This is the one area where you kind of get, well, it's definitely squishy. Because of that blue bow and stern, it can get punched through by pretty much anything except for 203s if angled properly. Your deck is at 29 millimeters, which means it can bounce 406 16-inch shells if angled correctly. However, that green section is only 25 millimeters of armor, and only 14-inch shells can bounce those if angled properly. So at this tier, you're going to be facing 16 inches, 15 inches, some 14 inches, but it's definitely a lot squishier than its Atago counterpart. The Citadel is a stepped Citadel as seen. The vast majority of it does stick slightly above the water, but if we look at it from a different angle, I've highlighted it for you. You can Citadel underneath the turrets, but it is a smaller section. If you're aiming for the Citadel, aim mid-ship. All right, captains, we are on the map Shards. The game has already started. We are in a Tier 5, Tier 6 lobby, but it's mainly comprised of Tier 5s. So I do have that as a benefit and an advantage to me. I spawn over here on the Charlie flank, and it's a domination game mode, and we have a de Grasse that is over here, but he takes a while to get started. And behind me is a battleship, so which is a Hyuga, so it's a good battleship to have supporting you. But I'm going to go ahead and push right on in here to Charlie. One of the benefits of being an agile cruiser commander is you do have that at your disposal. And getting into caps quickly is kind of your job, especially since you don't have any destroyer support. There is only 2 per side. And unfortunately, we don't get the benefit of one over here. So we're going to kind of play a little bit of the destroyer role by getting in here to the cap early, contesting it, trying to stop the destroyer, which more than likely is over here because it started to get flipped rather quickly. But I am just kind of waiting for torpedoes to kind of brush on by. So there they are. At least there's a couple sets of them, and then there's another set that comes in. So 3 sets, awfully widespread torpedoes. It looks like 3, 3, and 3. Which tells me that the destroyer that's over here is the Akatsuki, which is the Tier 6. As we spot a Dallas, and we're targeted by 3 ships, so there's the Miyoko, which is the Tier 6 tech tree counterpart, and they have really good HE shells. So we are going to go toe-to-toe with this guy, and as we shoot our HE salvo, we immediately switch to the AP. We pop our reload booster, throw some torps out front because we have that as an option. And even with the reload booster, it's still pretty slow. We do get 1 Citadel, but these torpedoes are going to find their mark. And because the Hydro is on, the Akatsuki is now spotted via that. So a lot going on right here at the very beginning. We get a good salvo off with our HE because they do hit really hard, especially against destroyers. The Akatsuki throws his torpedoes at us, but looks like he didn't exactly throw them on the right line. And because he was tunnel visioning on us, he runs into the island, which really exposes him to our team. And they whittle him down to practically nothing. And we're going to take this last cheeky shot and secure the kill, getting 2 kills right off the bat. And the Dallas is now pushing around. We throw torpedoes off of our rear angle, switch to AP. And now we're going to start going toe-to-toe against this Dallas. Thankfully, our battleship and cruiser that is over here is now finally starting to shoot at stuff. And we can angle relatively well against this Dallas. Unfortunately, his HE is going to be able to hurt us a little bit. But like I said, those heals will heal that stuff back. It's been rather fast and furious for these first couple of minutes. And as we switch to the HE shells, which are effective, don't get me wrong, but because of the slow reload, you really need to utilize these torpedoes. The one thing that I didn't mention from the stat screen is that these torpedoes, although they do mimic the Atago with the amount, the range is reduced for the Maya. The Atago gets the benefit of having two different options at the tier. The Atago can have a shorter range of, I believe, 8 kilometers as well, but they're very fast torpedoes. Whereas it also has the option where you can take that mod off and have up to 10 kilometer torpedoes. They're slower, they're a little bit more stealthy, but they do reach out a lot farther. And I seem to have more success with the longer range 10 kilometer torpedoes on the Atago than I do with the 8 kilometer. Now, I say all that to say this: because the Maya only has the option for the 8 kilometer torpedoes, you really have to get a lot closer. And kiting, and because of how squishy this thing is, it's better at kiting at range, which is why I kind of like the Atago slightly better than I do the Maya. But because the Maya is at tier 6, it just kind of it fits the tier better than if it were going to be at tier 7. The reload, though, is definitely tough to swallow. So if you're a main gun battery shooter and that's all you like doing, like the American heavy cruisers, this is probably the slowest main battery DPM at the tier. It's pretty noticeable. So if you're not utilizing your torpedoes, you're not getting the most out of this ship. But when you do utilize it, you gotta get pretty darn close, which also puts this thing at risk of getting deleted, especially against battleships. And speaking of battleships, we have the Frederick out here, which has 350 millimeters, which is slightly bigger and can overmatch my green-plated armor. I can only bounce 14-inch shells, and this one is just slightly above. So all those shells, if he hits, will definitely do some damage. But these torpedoes, like I said, they hit really, really hard. And so now that we've swapped sides, we get the other set off, which is what really makes this ship dangerous up close. If you can't take it out, then you're going to get touched by these torpedoes. And especially with an agility build, you can get those torpedoes off a lot easier and a lot faster than if you didn't have it. I got used to the way, when I first started playing cruisers, I really followed Hipper, and I really did a lot of my builds just like his. And I did learn how to play cruisers initially like that. So because the Atago is actually my most played ship in the game, and I have close to 9,000 standard battles played, which isn't that much for somebody who's been playing for 4 years, but I got a family, I've got kids, I don't have all the time in the world to play this game like the OGs out there that can play practically every night. But I say all that to say, I learned playing it with that type of play style, and so that's why I picked it for this play style for this ship, which I think fits really, really well. Unfortunately, we missed out on that ship, that cruiser, which I thought we kind of got robbed a little bit. These shells are a little on the floaty side, meaning they take just a little bit longer to reach their targets, and that unfortunately kind of cost us. And here in the last waning seconds, I have 4 kills, and I thought I was going to get a Kraken with that cruiser, but unfortunately I didn't. And now I'm trying to get this West Virginia. He's the last ship and my last hope at trying to secure a Kraken. But everybody and their mother and uncle and brother and baby is shooting at this thing, and the odds that I get the last kill on this thing is pretty far-fetched. I really had no hope or thought, especially with how slow the DPM of this thing is, that I would even have had a chance. And at any point, I'm like, well, this guy's dead. But I think he got a heal off, which is what prolonged his life. And even though all these shells keep coming in, this West Virginia stays alive long enough for me to get the Kraken and the kill and that was just kind of funny. So that's a look at the Maya. My thoughts on it, I love cruisers and I love Japanese cruisers, and because of my love for the Atago is so strong, I think that this is worth buying, but that's because it fits my play style. As we get a little over 3,000 base XP and a win, and we get the Kraken and the high caliber and a devastating strike at first blood. But if you're a battleship player, you probably won't like this ship, and if you're a destroyer player, I don't know if you might like this because it's got a lot of torpedoes. But let me know down in the comments sections below if you like this ship, if you have it, if you're thinking about getting it. That's a quick look at it. But I kind of specialize in this type of ship, so, take that for what it is. Anyway, captains, thank you so very much for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. I look forward to bringing you a new series here soon. Not going to give any hints as to what it is, but just stay tuned for a new Tech Tree series. And this is the USS Endeavor for right now, signing off.